The entire process was devastating. Again, 10 hours of incarceration is 10 hours too much. So for a human being to be animalized for 10 years, there's no quick fix to that. There's no quick remedy to that. It's like being shot by an assailant and you're running away for your life. You don't even realize you got shot in your leg because you're running on adrenaline. It's not until you get to a place of safety that you realize you have a hole in your leg and you collapse and you can't stand up. And that's what that experience was for me. When I came out, I didn't even realize how wounded, how devastated I was, because I numbed myself to the pain and destruction that I suffered. I remember my mother used to come and see me on the visit floor, and my mother couldn't even look at me. She would start to shake, and she would go off the floor and go to the bathroom. Right? I couldn't process that, because if I cried in front of her, then that would make her life go to shambles. If I cried in front of the prison guard, they would think I was weak. So I had to go back to the yard, lift some weights, you know, smoke a cigar, and act like nothing happened. Right? So when you come out from that, how do you recover, Jules? How do you put your life back together, even if they were to put me back in Brooklyn? I'm not sure that would have made a drastic difference, because this thing is enough to drive a man insane. People kill themselves in prison. You understand? So for me, the process was just, you know, I pray all the time, I fast all the time, and I ask God for help. But I felt good about coming to Belize because I'm a son of Belize. So even though I may have wanted to walk the asphalt of the place that I knew as my second home for all of those years and hit the ground running, to come back home, I think God knew best what he was doing to come back home.
At the same time though, invariably when one is extracted from a traumatic, difficult situation into a liberated environment, you have, perhaps you entertain false or illusory goals. That now I can do this, now I can do that, but the world is still wronged.
Yeah. I remember you asked me this question when I had the press conference with Professor Charles Ogletree, the Harvard professor. And you asked me, you said, how are you going to sell records? You're not in New York. And I think that was part of that. After surviving what I survived, you do have this unstoppable, unbeatable, undeniable attitude that you can do anything. If I walked around in shackles and if they didn't feed me for 48 hours and I passed that, you watch how I'm going to sell records by not being in New York. That was the attitude. But the reality is different, Jules. You know? So you got a one. Now score one for Jules, no? Because not being in the United States of America has crippled my career. Crippled my career.
You thought you could work around it?
I thought I could work around it, Jules, but it crippled my career. And not being able to go to Britain as an alternative or to Canada as alternative, just, you know, my foot was crippled and they crippled my hand. So they've totally, you know, destabilized me and just put me out of the game. So it's like a soldier coming back from Vietnam or Iraq or Afghanistan, suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome and readjusting and realigning himself with mainstream society. So it took me a while to get to the realities of I'm not in my professional element. I'm not amidst my peers.
But let me pose a scenario. Let's say that things work out as you hope they do. You get a visa. You go to Brooklyn. You get to America. And you find out that Shyne fell off.
No.
Because
No, come on, Jules.
it's a young man's
You heard
game.
the music, Jules. Let's not deal in hypothetics and speculation. You heard the music. When you heard the music, what was your response, Jules?
My response is that it's very spiritual music. It's very deep.
Jules.
But at the
That
same
never a
time,
response, Jules. Jules a response. I'm like, boy, where you pull that one from? You never said
True
nothing
that.
about no spiritual.
right, true that. It's soul music.
Soul music. Good.
It's soul music.
Soul music.
I can't argue that.
All right. The
But I'm saying,
the
what-
music industry started with soul music. The woman that we just spoke about that sold 15 million records in an industry where they can't sell 15,000 records is making what kind of music, Jules?
soul music.
Soul music, Jules.
Good.
That's the bottom line, Jules.
What?
Jules, I have to go everywhere in the world, but particularly the place that made me. To do what, Jules? The same thing I do front of Broads. The same thing I do on George Street. Talk to the people. Shake the man hand. Find out where they go on. Drink on Bellikin or a Fanta with the man and look the man in the eye and make the man remember who that Shyne. Right? You have man where I depend on a wall, where idolize me because of what I stand for, and my morals and my integrity and my honor, and not the worldwide, Jules. From Belize to Jamaica to Paris to Israel to New York to California. Right? So all I have to do is go back and meet with my people. One of the problems I had that I solved, and again, Jules, I don't me to say this, tell the Belizean people where you said. My voice, me gone when I first came out. That my problem. My problem, don't know whether I got it or I fall off. Because if I may fall off, I never may on Carter 4. Carter 4 is the #1 album as far as hip hop after Adele. That's the #1 album. That kid sold 3 million records. I'm on that album. So when you talk about a young man's game, Lil Wayne, he calling the shots right now in the young man's game. And he found me in Israel. He called me for a week straight to get on that album. And giving the man the song for the album don't mean it's gonna make it on the album. Cause there was a lot of other dudes in line to make that cut. I made that cut, Jules. So that speaks for itself as to where I'm at with my ability to still keep up. So after 10 years incarcerated and 10 years off the scene, I made the cut on the #1 album. So all I'm saying is my chances are great, Jules. I ain't Houdini and I'm not God. But I'm telling you, you get me that visa, we gonna win, Jules.